So today I'm going to show you how to install the additional gates on our 10-foot to 16-foot expandable hopper here at GEFFS Manufacturing. And we're going to start by getting the engine started, opening the gates all the way in manual, and then we can go down and start installing the gates. We're going to start with starting the engine. Once the display loads, it starts in auto. We're going to switch it manual, and then we're going to use the button on top of the throttle to open the gates all the way. So we can install the hang-on gates. And then you have the option to close the gates from up here once you have them installed. You can close them left to right. Then you can reopen them by going to the left. You can also close them by going right to left. Depending on your needs for the application. Okay, so out here on the front, this is our 10-foot hopper. Before we expand it out to 16, what we're going to have to do is pull off our lock bars, take off those gates, get those wings open, and then we'll attach the new gates and close it back up, attach the air lines, and then we'll do the same thing to the other side. So here we go. So in order to expand out the wing, we have to direct the hydraulic pressure through the log splitter, which allows us to expand the wing out all the way. Then we're going to take off this bar right here that holds on the gates for transportation. When you put on the gates, you want to put them in sequential order. If you mix them up, they're adjusted for this order. So if they're mixed up, they will not be adjusted properly. So we'll take our first gate. It's got a little tab right here that has to hook onto the 2-inch square tubing there. Just slide it on like that. You have a male coupler that needs to slide into the female coupler so they work together and are regulated at the same pace. Just like that, the first gate is on, and then we'll put on the other two so we can close the wing up. Okay, now we're going to close the wing up. And what we're going to do is we're going to close it until it makes contact, the gate in the wing. And then we back it off a little bit, just so there isn't any tension. It's important that you get this round coupler into the socket because that's going to be what supports the gates. Okay, right there, it's all the way closed, and then we just back it off a little bit to relieve the pressure. And then we'll hook up our air quick connect so we have control over the gates. Okay, then the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure you close your valves, because if you don't, you'll lose all your residual pressure for your auxiliary pump and you won't have any steering. And then put your lock bar back in place so that way you don't lose it. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing to the other side, so you have the full 16-foot spread width. So I opened the valve, I extended the wing, and now I'm going to put the gates on in sequential order so that way they are calibrating properly. And then once we're done with that, we'll close the wing and we'll put the arm back on. So I'm just grabbing the gate. I'm going to hook it on the 2-inch square tubing so we can interlock the couplers. All right, last one. Okay, now we're going to close up the wing. Now we're ready to hook up our air lines. Okay, now we need to get these air lines hooked up so we can actuate the gates. Okay, now that all of our gates are on, we have to put our lock bar back in place so we don't lose it. Then we close our valves so we have hydraulic pressure again and that we're ready to use it. Then up here on the front, we have the air valves that control the air gates. In the event you have an obstruction in one of your gates and the gates are closed, you can hurry up and flip one of these switches and get the rock, or whatever may be in there, causing you a problem. Okay, now that you're all done using the machine, I'm going to show you how to break it back down for transport, and we'll start by removing the air lines. We'll take off our lock bar, expand the wing out again, and remove the gates one at a time, putting them back up in their stowing position. Okay, we put our bar back in so the gates can't bounce off when you're going down the road. One thing to keep in mind when you're putting on these gates, if the machine happens to lose power, the gates will slam shut, so make sure you keep your hands and anything out of the way that could get caught in there in the event of lost power. So once we have all of our gates stowed, the wing is closed. All that's left is to close your ball valve and you're ready to go to the other side. I'm going to get this last gate off, get the lock bar on, and we'll get this closed up the last. Closed up, the last thing we got to do is put these protective caps on the air gates so we don't get any dirt or debris in there and keep those air gates functioning properly. And that's how you use the GEFFS 10 to 16 foot expandable hopper. Give us a call if you have any questions.